Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show, discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and welcome to the 50th episode of the show. Thank you so much for being here. We started the podcast last year, and these past 50 episodes have frankly just flown by. So here's to 50 more. 500 more. Let's go. Thank you guys so much for joining. And today, we decided to do something a little more special for the 50th edition. Not only is this a weekend episode, which you can start to expect more of going forward, but we put the call out on Instagram for any questions that people may have, and we wanted to be featured on the podcast. So we're going to go through some of those questions today, and going forward, if you do want to participate in any Q&A episodes that we do have, follow us on Instagram as well as our other social media platforms at PhinsPod, and then be sure to answer the call to any questions going forward. Without further ado, though, let's dive in.
That it seems to me that the Miami Dolphins are all in on Tua now. Because the conversation, as you know, that I thought was a little bit nutty from the end of the regular season, or at least the last month of the regular season, all the way up to this draft trade was, Dolphins got beat in last year's draft by taking Tua over Justin Herbert, and Tua is expendable, certainly if it's for Deshaun Watson, and the Dolphins aren't really in on Tua completely, but to me, when you move out of the 6 spot, or we move out of the 3 spot, you're basically saying we are not interested in one of the top 4 quarterbacks in this draft. We're moving down to 6, where we'll probably have no shot at any of the top 4 quarterbacks in this draft. And as a matter of fact, when we move from 12 back up to 6, that means we are very interested in getting a top flight offensive player.
Before we get down to business and answer these questions, we do have some news to cover. The Miami Dolphins brought back veteran defensive tackle John Jenkins this week. Jenkins previously played with the Fins in 2019, but he was with the Chicago Bears last season. So it's really actually interesting that a season removed and a year older at 31, Miami decided to bring him back. I mean, as a player, Jenkins does fill a role that really is lacking on the interior of this defensive line. And when I say a role lacking, it's really a man who just occupies a ton of space and is frankly impossible to move. Jenkins has some power behind all that mass. He showed a little push back in 2019, so he's definitely someone that you would not mind having as your 4th or 5th option in the defensive tackle rotation. I mean, think about it. You got Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer, and recently signed Adam Butler, as well as some other guys who might be coming in and out of the rotation going forward. Having Jenkins there at 31, that's a great guy to have at 4th or 5th overall. He obviously could be a 3rd defensive tackle in a rotation. He was in 2019 on a worse defense, mind you. So it makes sense that you're bringing him back at that 4th and 5th role. And he can specifically play against more run-heavy type offenses where you need that bulk and mass. But look, he may not even make the team. The fact that he's been brought in, though, to compete indicates that the Fins are likely done at that position this offseason. I don't think Miami's going to be signing a 31-year-old defensive tackle if they have any designs of filling out the roster with more defensive tackles who are cheap and young and developmental. I don't think that's the case. I think them bringing Jenkins in means that, hey, we want to cap out the room with a veteran who we can trust. And so they're probably not signing anyone. And that makes sense because they have invested a lot into the position via the draft over the last couple of years and also in free agency. The other piece of news is regarding Tua Tagovailoa and his revenge tour. He posted a photo on Instagram of him putting in work. He's in the lab. Obviously, that's something that we've seen plenty of this offseason. A lot of pictures and videos, mainly from his trainer. But what was intriguing about this post, one, it being on his personal, of course, but it was also who was in the picture. Aside from those very impressive gains that we're seeing Tua make this offseason, he was putting in work and throwing passes and building chemistry with some guys on the roster, and that's great to see, not only from a leadership perspective, but just in terms of where you want to see this offense in year 2 with Tua at the helm. You hope that your quarterback is first guy in, last guy out. Obviously, that's kind of minimum what you want in the NFL, but you want him also putting every free moment of time right back into his craft. You need a psychopath at that position. To be a great one at the quarterback position, you need to be obsessive. That's kind of been proven out in NFL history, and Tua has some of those obsessive traits, and that's good to see. And not only is it good to see him working, could it just be for the cameras? Maybe, but again, Tua does not seem to be that type of guy. He never was earlier in his career. And at least he's doing it. Even if some of it is just for the cameras, at least he's doing it. Now, who are the guys that he was with? Devontae Parker, Mac Hollins, Kirk Merritt, and Robert Foster all appeared in the picture, and that's great to see. A young guy like Merritt really trying to claw himself a spot and earn the trust of Tua. That's smart. It might show itself in the preseason and in training camp and might earn him a spot. Again, that's his only real shot. Devontae Parker, he needs to be the man going into 2021. If Miami wants an elite offense, he's going to have to also take another step, even with Will Fuller. If this offense is going to be, a top 10 offense, maybe even top 5, obviously Tua needs to take a step, but you need to see that chemistry with Parker Bill too. So it's good to see him there too, putting in that work. Mac Hollins is there, and of course Robert Foster, the new addition from Buffalo, and before that Alabama. So it's good to see that he's there, trying to build up that chemistry with Tua again. It's been a few years. I don't even know if they even threw passes together when they were at Alabama. The guy who was there and probably we haven't touched on yet, and probably the most intriguing of them all, and it's starting to make me rethink some things, is Albert Wilson. Yes, Miami's eldest wideout is working with Tua, despite not having played all last year after opting out due to COVID. And it appears that he's been working with him for a few weeks now. We've seen them in pictures and in workouts over the last few weeks. And the Dolphins have proven to be good to their veterans. So the fact that Albert Wilson's still on the roster and hasn't been dealt or released just to kind of give him an opportunity to catch on with another team, that's surprising. But does that mean that the Dolphins do have him in their plans? I mean, I believe it was Barry Jackson who had the report a few weeks back stating that Allen Hurns and Albert Wilson were in the Miami Dolphins team's plans. But I just took that as smoke, frankly, from Miami to make them seem a little less desperate for a receiver. Obviously, if Miami comes out and goes, look, we really need some help here, then they lose some of that flexibility in the draft and potential leverage because everyone knows they are desperate. But if they kind of make it seem like, nah, you all think we're desperate, but we're not. We got Allen Hurns and Albert Wilson coming back. So I didn't put a lot of stock into that report. But hey, at least we now know that there should be some chemistry if Wilson does come back in 2021. And honestly, we can afford it. We can afford it financially. And I'm not opposed. He's dynamic with the ball in his hand. We saw that back in 2019 and earlier, in 2018 when he first came. And Miami should not be letting viable receiving threats just walk out the door. So, personally, I think Albert Wilson working with Tua is only a good thing. Whether he makes the team or not, if Miami replaces him via the draft and feels like they can save the money, well then great. But at the very least, you want him putting the time in. So if Miami does stick with him, there's chemistry from jump. Now to what we've been waiting for. It's Q&A time, baby. And thank you all so much for your questions. I'm actually really excited to get to it and start doing this more regularly. And you all started it with a bang. So we got some fire questions. So let's just jump right into it. First off, the first question comes from Carol That Boy on Instagram. Realistically, who are the Dolphins going to take in the draft? Again, this is a very general question. Who are the Dolphins going to take in the draft realistically? This is tough, though, because I have my own personal wants. I think we all do as fans. And it's probably Kyle Pitts. But I do think the Dolphins are going to end up taking Jamar Chase. He's a perfect fit for what Miami needs right now. And I think they value a need at receiver a lot more than potentially at tight end. Like I said, Kyle Pitts is the guy I would want. But I think Miami will go Jamar Chase. He's a high ceiling, high floor player. Comps to Anquan Bolden. And that's who I think that type of player they want in their system right now. Someone who's reliable and consistent. But hey, Carol, stay tuned. The first edition of our mock draft will be dropping soon. So this might change. I'm allowed to change this answer. Next up, we have a question from Sneaky Clutch 24. And this is less of a question and more of a statement, but here we go. I don't know about you, but I think Tua will have an amazing second year. What do you think? Well, listen, I concur, Sneaky Clutch. I think we're seeing him put all the work like we talked about, and he's doing that right now. Work that he wasn't able to put in a season ago. So, yes, I do expect a jump. Because, again, while he's just trying to be able to make sure he had, balance on both of his legs and, one side wasn't way stronger than the other because it was emaciated after months not being able to put weight on it, trying to just balance out his body and his core. Now he's actually putting in the work to build on top of all that and add strength. So absolutely do I expect a jump, a big one too. And if not, if he doesn't make that jump, then let's be real. I mean, as much as we love him, all these haters have a valid point, and we have some tough discussions that are going to have to ensue. But for now, I have a ton of faith in him. He's coming back stronger and ready to go, and I believe that. Question number 3. Keep It Spooky 2209 asks simply, Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts? And like we just said, I think the Dolphins are taking Jamar Chase. But if you're a regular listener of the show, you know the answer here. It's Kyle Pitts. And I love Chase. Don't think you can go wrong by taking either one. But Kyle Pitts is just built different, man. Nightmare to match up against. Crazy athlete. Perfect for a young quarterback in terms of a bailout situation. Just either deep, chuck it up, like, holy crap, this play is devolving before my eyes. It's 3rd and 12. I see my guy over the middle in double coverage. Boom. Oh my God, he caught it. Crazy. That's the type of player I think he can be. And the same type of player dragging underneath. You throw him a 2-yard dump off, and he makes that nickel corner miss or just runs right over him. He's that type of guy, and he'll elevate everything else around him because of the position he plays at tight end, including the running game. So Chase can do some of these things too. Again, he can open things up underneath, and he can also be that safety blanket and bailout guy. So that's why, again, I'm not angry if you take either one. But the reason I just like Pitts more is because I think he'll do it sooner and at a higher clip, just because of the freak type of athlete he is. And listen, if you disagree, let us know in the comments below. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to let us know in the comments if you feel like I'm wrong here and Chase is the best option for Miami. Next up, question 4 from FenderStrat305. He asks if we can get film on some of the top prospects. Well, we're going to be having some highlights and breakdowns drop following the draft of the players that, of course, the Dolphins specifically select. However, if you want some draft content right now and some clips of the top prospects, go follow us on TikTok at PhinsPod. And listen, I know TikTok's pretty childish. I'm not a huge fan of it, but for Dolphins content, absolutely go follow us on TikTok. Our team over there is looking out for anything Dolphins related, clips, anything like that, draft prospects. They're sharing them over there. So there's also pro day highlights there too. So good draft content over there if you do want some of that at PhinsPod on TikTok. Question 5, Pasta La Vista, amazing name, asks, who won free agency? The Dolphins, Pats, or Bills? And first, I respect that you did not even include the Jets because, yes, fuck them, and they did not win. And look, as much as I do hate to say it, I think the Patriots won free agency. They added the most talent. They did. I mean, they had the most needs. They added the most talent. The Bills stayed stable, which is good for them, but they didn't really win free agency for that reason. And Miami continued to move what appears to be tactically and intelligently when you look at it, deeper, but it's not really sexy. Other than the Will Fuller signing, nothing really sexy happened. The Patriots had the most upgrades across the board. Now, does that mean the fact that they won free agency, does that mean that they are going to have the best season? No, not at all. Winning free agency means jack. As Fins fans, we should know that better than most. And now our enemies up north are about to learn that the hard way. So I can't wait for the inevitable implosion coming. Because when you spend that much money for a win-now mindset with a quarterback who is way past his prime, all I'm saying is I'm very excited to see how the Patriots turn out this year come December. Next question from Foxcloud. Asks a very valid question, and I think something on all of our minds. How the heck do we survive the gap until the draft at the end of April? The torture is real. Absolutely, Fox. But I got some great news for you. Like I said at the start of this show, we're going to be upping the amount of episodes that come out this month. And not only is that going to be continuing to bring the best Dolphins content and coverage we can, but we're about to go hyperdrive into draft week, draft hype, and overall draft month. Weekly mock drafts, positional prospect breakdowns via podcasts and on YouTube. It's all coming, so stay tuned. If you need to try to avoid some of that torture, be sure to subscribe over here. Next up, Maliha Chaudhry. I apologize if I mispronounced any of your usernames. They ask whether or not I believe any team will beat the 1972 Miami Dolphins record and go unbeaten. And the short answer is no. Look, the reason is it's a feat that has already stood the test of time. It took a loaded roster led by a great coach and a great quarterback to get close, just to get close, and even they couldn't do it. Despite cheating and everything, they couldn't do it. So on top of that, the NFL just extended the regular season. So that extra 17th game is just another Sunday. And hey, that's saying any given Sunday, it's just another weekend that a team can lose out on a potential undefeated bid. So it's just going to make it even harder going forward. And for now, I think the population of Perfectville is going to stay right there at 1. Next up, question from Aiden Rodriguez 07, who asks, Javonte Williams at 36. Sign me up, Aiden. I have said this before and I'll say it again. I am not a fan of first-round running backs. The NFL continues to prove year in and year out that running backs can be found at any point in the draft, frankly, outside of the draft. Who was the best rookie running back last season? Oh, yeah, that undrafted kid in Jacksonville, James Robinson. So the value of taking someone in round 1 is just not there, in my opinion. Now, the second round is a far better place in terms of value to get the draft's best young runners. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to get the best running backs coming out, but you shouldn't invest that high when the other prospects on the board are of a higher value considering, how hard it is to fill those needs relative to the running back position. And look, in terms of best young runners, Javonte Williams is that type of back. He's got great balance, he's explosive, great vision, and likely he's going to be an immediate starter for Miami. So if Miami's able to get a top pass catcher at 6, a lineman or a linebacker at 18, and then Javonte Williams at 36, this team is automatically better, and I can't wait until September. Number 9, following on the draft trend, Two Brown to Handle, great name, asks, which pick are the Dolphins more likely to trade, 6th or 18th overall? So I would say 18th. And the reason is Miami moved back up to 6th. So although we talked about in a previous episode earlier this week, the potential of Miami moving out of 6 for more value, maybe they went to 6 to control the draft and hope that a quarterback falls. So that way one of those teams further back really is going to give up more value than they realized, right now that they would be willing to give up. And Miami will be the beneficiary of that move. So that is a possibility. But the fact that they moved up to 6, it could also mean, and probably more likely mean, there's someone they've identified, and it's someone that they want to draft. So I think it's more likely that Miami moves on from 18, either trading up to maybe get a guy who's fallen, or maybe trading back down if there's a lineman or a receiver that one of those teams in the 20s really wants. Miami may, similar to last season, where they traded with Green Bay and moved back and took Noah Igbenogany, the Dolphins very well could do that again. So some great questions here. And we're going to wrap this one up with a question from Deuce. Deuce on the loose, hilarious, says, what's with all the hype every time Tua touches a weight? That's fair. That's fair. Dolphins fans, myself included, we start acting a little sus every time Tua posts a workout shot. And I think the excitement is justified. Listen, fans are happy for the kid, not just for happy to see your quarterback working out and looking like he's putting in work for your team, which is always great to see. But just thinking about the kid himself, I think fans are truly actually personally happy for him. I mean, think about where he was a year ago. I recommend you rewatch that Tua documentary if you kind of need that perspective again, just to see where he's come from and his overall journey, just to kind of, again, contextualize where we are right now and what his expectations were and what everyone's saying about him. So I think fans are just happy that this kid has the opportunity to prove himself. Plus, he looks bigger. He just does. He looks a little more swole. And considering he did not get to work out at all last season, I think it's just exciting that Tua is going to come in with a stronger core, maybe some more zip on those passes, more athleticism in the pocket, and more escapability because of that athleticism that he's been working on all offseason. And these are all things that are going to come from strength training and offseason work, things that you can focus on now because you're not focused on trying to learn the film of the opposing defense and trying to understand your game plan. This is when you can work on these other things. And these other things are what I think Tua was missing in his game compared to what he had back at Alabama. So, hey, Deuce, stop hating. We all want Tua to do well. And if you aren't, then are you even rooting for the Dolphins, man? That's just facts.
Chris Greer, he's the general manager of the Miami Dolphins. From 2020 to 2023, he is projected to pick 9 times in the first round. 9 first-round picks over a 4-year span. And the pick that the Dolphins sent to San Francisco is not even their own in this year's draft. That belongs to the Houston Texans originally, that was sent to Miami for the tackle Laramie Tunsil, who the Dolphins have turned into a mini Herschel Walker trade. 4 firsts, 2 seconds, and a third from that Laramie Tunsil trade alone. Crazy, which is what Chris Greer, the general manager, is doing. And if he does, in fact, draft using these picks and surround Tua, who's, part of this whole first round of Palooza, if they do draft a championship team, they can turn this Tunsil trade into a Herschel Walker trade of their own. But we'll see. To me, it's just like the whole conversation of Tua's gone or they're not really into Tua. Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick's gone, Tua's still there, and they move back up to 6 to no doubt choose somebody Jamar Chase, I don't think will be there. I think they think that the kid from LSU is going to be drafted by Cincinnati right before him, and they'll have a reunion between two LSU Tigers. Joe Burrow coming back from his
rock and roll
from his knee injury, and let's go run it back, if you will. But they're going to get a high-quality offensive player for Tua.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this weekend episode 50 special Q&A. It was fun. I think we probably will be doing this again. Please let us know what you think. That's going to do it for us here. I hope you enjoyed. If you want more of the pod in general, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/PhinsPod. For literally $2 a month, you can listen to bonus episodes as well, and the site has some other goodies over there. So link is in the description, or head over to patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you all so much for the support. We look forward to keep it rolling, and it's been so much fun so far. So please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show. Subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Remember that the PhinsPod is available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and of course, YouTube. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram @PhinsPod, and check out the site for news and content, PhinsPod.com. I hope you all have an amazing day, and until next time, stay safe, have a great start to your week, and love y'all.